Shadow Slave Chapter 18 Absence of Light. Steam curled lazily in the air as Sunny stood under the hot cascade of the shower, savoring the feeling of warmth washing over him. After a brief and somewhat awkward conversation, Master Jet had practically shoved him toward the showers, claiming he reeked of nightmare. And honestly, she wasn't wrong. His body had been asleep for 3 entire days, the spell-induced slumber slowing his metabolism to a crawl. Medical devices had done their best to stabilize him. But even so, the stale stench of blood and despair clung to him like an invisible cloak. For now, though, Sunny allowed himself a moment of peace, letting the scalding water drown out the heavy weight of reality. The impending disaster of the flaw, the constant looming threat of death, all of it could wait. Right now, he was in heaven. Eventually, he turned off the tap with a reluctant sigh, reaching for a towel. Catching sight of himself in the fogged mirror, he paused, studying his reflection. The changes were subtle, but they were there. His once sickly pale skin had gained a faint, healthy glow. His limbs, previously frail and thin, now held a lean, wiry strength. His dark hair looked shinier, his eyes more vivid. Yet, despite these improvements, Sunny still wasn't exactly imposing. Small and slender, he was hardly the image of rugged masculinity. Flower boy, huh? He thought bitterly. But then, something odd happened. His eyes flicked lower and he froze. The reflection of his shadow moved. It wasn't mirroring him. It seemed to lower its head and slap a hand over its face in exasperation. Heart hammering, Sunny spun around, glaring at the shadow on the tiled floor. It behaved normally, perfectly mimicking his every twitch. "I saw you move," he accused, pointing a trembling finger. "You moved on your own, didn't you?" The shadow glared back at him, innocent. Then it shook its head vigorously. Sunny's mouth dropped open. "What do you mean, no? You just shook your head. You think I'm blind?" The shadow shrugged with a nonchalance that was somehow maddening. Completely baffled, Sunny muttered, "Your shadow is more independent than most. It's an invaluable helper." That was what the spell had said about his aspect ability. But what could it actually do? "Tell me," Sunny said. "What can you do?" Naturally, the shadow said nothing. Right. No vocal cords. That made perfect sense, or, well, as much sense as a living shadow could. Sunny tried again. "Show me, maybe?" No reaction. The shadow remained stubbornly still. He sighed in frustration. "I'm doing this wrong." It wasn't separate from him. It was a part of him. His aspect, his ability. Instead of treating it like another person, he had to think differently. He closed his eyes, reaching inward. He tuned out the noises of the world. The hiss of the showers, the drip of water on tiles, the whisper of air moving through vents. Beneath it all, he found something new. A sense unlike sight or touch or hearing. Something deeper, more primal. He could feel the shadows pressing in around him, vast and shifting, forming a dark landscape only he could navigate. Among them, one shadow stood out, familiar, intimate, as though it were an extension of his own soul. Sunny willed it to move, and the shadow obeyed. Eye snapping open, he experimented. Raise an arm, sit down, bend, kick. He ordered the shadow to change shape, and it did, flowing like water, twisting into a circle, a line, even a monstrous silhouette before returning to its normal form. "Ha!" he crowed triumphantly. The shadow, somehow managing to look sulky, gave him a reluctant thumbs up. Excited, Sunny tried to see how useful it could be. He commanded it to strike the towel rack. The shadow's leg shot out, but being immaterial, passed harmlessly through the object without so much as rustling the towels. His excitement deflated a little. Is that it? The dream of mighty shadow tentacles ripping through enemies like paper crumbled before his eyes. The shadow, sensing his disappointment, looked at him with barely concealed disdain and refused to move further. Sighing, Sunny grabbed a towel and dried off. "Fine, I'll figure it out later." A short while later, Sunny, now dressed in a basic police-issued tracksuit, made his way to the cafeteria. Master Jet was already there, waiting at a small table with 2 trays piled high with steaming synthetic food. "Help yourself," she offered. The gruel looked depressingly familiar, not much different from the meager meals he used to scrape together in the outskirts. Still, it was food. Sonny sat and dug in, shoveling mouthfuls into his mouth like a starving man. As he ate, his mind wandered. His eyes flicked to Jet. The spell had told him to find a master, and now here she was, Master Jet. Coincidence? He tried to imagine serving someone like her. Weird thoughts. Sonny, knowing his own cursed luck, thought bitterly. This would be the perfect moment for her to ask me what I'm thinking. As if summoned, Jet's voice cut through the air. "What are you thinking about?" Sonny nearly choked. Panic flooded him. He clamped his mouth shut, but within seconds, a painful pressure began to build in his mind, becoming an unbearable agony. Finally, unable to resist, he blurted out, "I was thinking that it would be a perfect moment for you to ask what I'm thinking." Jet raised an eyebrow, then she shrugged. "All right, are you almost finished?" At his nod, she leaned back. "Good. I'm obligated to inform you of a few things, protocol mostly. First, about your nightmare experience." She gave him a serious look. "You're entitled to free psychological counseling. No shame in needing help. Your mind's as important as your body." "Interested?" Sonny shook his head. No way he was pouring out his soul to some stranger. Jet didn't seem surprised. "As you wish. You can also talk to me if you want." "Was it very hard?" He hesitated. "It was much worse than I expected, and exactly as bad as I expected." She smiled faintly, apparently satisfied with that answer. "That's a good attitude. I won't pry. We outskirts rats are tougher than people think." Sonny blinked. "You grew up in the outskirts?" Jet grinned. "What? You can't tell by my exquisite manners." He was genuinely surprised. Somehow he hadn't picked up on it at all. "Are there a lot of people like us among the awakened?" Jet's grin faded. "No, we can be counted on one hand." Sonny nodded slowly. Figures. Nothing ever came easy for people like him, which made Jet success. The 3 stars on her uniform, all the more impressive. "One day, I'll be a master too," he promised himself. "So, what now?" he asked. "What else do I need to know?" Jet leaned back. "That's basically it. Usually there's stuff about your family, but I read your file. It doesn't apply. Only thing left is deciding how you're going to prepare for your first journey into the dream realm." She checked her communicator and grimaced. "Your timing's awful. Not a lot of time left. You can do whatever you want. Train, prepare, or, if you're feeling stupid, party until the world ends." Sonny wasn't much of a partygoer, but, Jet continued, "you are entitled to enroll in the Awakened Academy. Food, lodging, classes. Even this late, you might learn something. And more importantly, you'll meet others who'll enter the dream realm with you. Allies or enemies." Sonny considered it. His flaw stayed strangely silent, offering no push. Finally, he looked at his empty tray. "Free food and a roof over his head?" "Yeah," he said. "Take me to the academy."